The champ is here!
It's just a man! Give me a hell yeah! What the Rock is cooking?
To be the man, you have to be the man. Big Papa Pump, and you're hooked up.
Fallen.
Holla, and the man.
Woo, woo, woo!
Cup of coffee in the big day.
Let me talk to you. Famcast Media proudly brings you the latest edition of Working the Marks. And I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist and top 50 Latino, Fernando Uribe, here with an all-star cast. We got Macho Rodriguez, the Pitbull, and then we got Paddy Rican. I got to tell you, the PBR superstar himself. Folks, it's Working the Marks on a Tuesday night. A lot of talk to go around about the world of pro wrestling here on Famcast Media. Shout out to Dee Rotten, our amazing executive producer. Yes. Click that share button and let everyone you know on your news feeds how much you love Working the Marks. What's up, gentlemen?
What's going on? ¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? How's everybody doing today?
I feel like I'm being eaten.
I like it, though. You look like Skeletor.
It's spooky season, boys.
I like it.
He looks like that skull in the Temple of Doom, where, like, remember that, like the chains were going up when they were like, eyes. That's what like there.
So which Indiana Jones movie is your favorite? Because mine's probably, I'm gonna say
you're not gonna say Crystal Skull, right?
No.
Okay.
No. Last Crusade's the shit.
Yeah, Last Crusade's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, again, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Again, check out all of our great content on YouTube, on Twitch. Guys, a lot to talk about in pro wrestling. Let's get started here. Really good piece here this week by Nick Tywalk from Wrestling Junkie via USA Today, talking about the Endeavor sale recently, where CEO Ari Emanuel reportedly was the guy responsible for shifting WWE creative control from Vince McMahon to Paul Levesque. Apparently, that was a big sort of selling point during the negotiation. Ultimately, we saw for the very first time, I guess apparently, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, to the delight of some, not all, no longer in creative control of World Wrestling Entertainment. That responsibility falls solely now on the chief content officer, Paul Triple H Levesque. Not a surprise, but I think a lot of marks are rejoicing, but I don't know. I have some mixed feelings about it, guys.
I think that the fix has been in for a while. By the way, I just want to say that I'm doing this today because I want to feel like Excalibur in AEW, except, I don't really feel like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Like, I feel like this bag actually suits all of the pounds of shit that are in me. But I mean, look, dude, this has been for a while, man. I mean, Vince hasn't been in charge for a very long time. The Marks didn't want to accept it. You had a lot of people kind of like SRS, Meltzer, that whole crew putting out stuff that Vince was seen backstage, twirling his mustache and, burying somebody or sending somebody back to NXT or something like that. And that wasn't the case. I mean, was Vince backstage? Yeah. But was Vince booking? No. Paul's been in charge for a very long time. And I think a lot of the people that might not like the product or might not like certain aspects of booking needs to accept the reality that Paul's the guy that's in charge and you don't like what Paul books. But the funny thing is that if you throw an NXT label on it, then all of a sudden everybody loves it. So, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think it's kind of weird. I think it's just a way of them keeping their celebrities close to home. Because, I mean, one of the big rumors was that Rocky didn't want to come back because of like the Vince McMahon thing. He didn't want to be attached to it. I think this is just a way to keep him safe from that, to keep people like that safe. But I agree with Pat. The fix has been in for a while. This is something that they've just wanted to do. They wanted Vince out. It's clear that that's what the intention was. Triple H is definitely everybody's flavor of the month, and he's done a great job for his year and a half that he's been running the business, so we can't really knock him for that. I agree with the whole NXT thing, though, because when it was NXT Black and Gold, Triple H got all the credit for everything, including the way that the women were presented. And now it's like Shawn Michaels is Booker of the Year for what he's doing in pro wrestling right now.
Guys, absolutely right. No, guys, you're absolutely right. And just to sort of add onto that, Justin Barrasso from Sports Illustrated this week reported also that the Endeavor CEO wanted Levesque heading up creative specifically because Emmanuel has been a long-term believer, I guess, from a structure perspective that in order for an organization to be as effective as possible, people need to do the job that they're assigned to, meaning pretty much Paul Levesque is head of creative, so he should be the one in where the buck stops. Now, bigger question actually he poses in the article is one that perhaps is never really going to be answered, is whether or not McMahon will mind that maybe there's a perception that he's going to be marginalized. He's 78 years old now, and while many fans and some of the industry observers assume he would attempt to run WWE until, let's be honest, until he died, which would seem never. Right? I think people thought he'd live like Emperor Palpatine in The Last Skywalker. It seems like he's finally ready to let go of the reins. For example, a WWE president, Nick Kahn, once suggested during the time that the company was looking to buy a buyer, saying that McMahon wouldn't just block a sale because his role might change. So the TKO merger apparently made that hypothetical a reality. And obviously in the next 6 months, up until WrestleMania 40, we're going to be seeing a lot more things going on behind the scenes. To Macho's point, I think if certain influencers within the company or certain stars that want to be associated with WWE/Endeavor maybe don't want Vince in charge. And again, enough people get into the ear of, Ari Emanuel. He's the CEO of Endeavor after this merger. So I think ultimately the buck stops with him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at the end of the day, you get people involved and, they got to cover their ass, man. You don't want to tarnish your image. You don't want to be involved with something that has nothing to do with you, especially if you're an innocent person in this case. And, at the end of the day, I understand that The Rock wasn't going to do it because of that. Billy Body reported that a long time ago. And I just think that, Vince out of the way, his baggage out of the way helps the company. He can still be involved even if he's off to the side. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure that Paul calls him for advice. I'm pretty sure that there's an open stream of communication there, though. But just a quick side note here. Sports Illustrated, you mentioned, right? I wouldn't trust too much of what they say, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because when it comes to wrestling, they are a mark rag. Obviously, they're very well known for covering sports, and just the years of service of Sports Illustrated has provided people and fucking great content is fucking off the charts. But as far as wrestling is concerned, you got marks there. So I wouldn't take too much of what they say too seriously.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. No, and listen, I think to a bigger extent now, to Macho's point, I mean, we've seen Paul Levesque be in charge of creative. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that with all, obviously when the scandals broke out in the summer of 2022, and I think once Vince stepped down, I think ultimately SummerSlam 2022 in Nashville was the first PLE that Paul was overseeing. So to his point, we're seeing at least 14 months of Paul Levesque in charge. And Pat makes a good point because a lot of the marks online that opine, whether behind paywalls or different websites or whatever, podcasts, it just seems like whenever there's something that marks don't like, they're looking for, right, the boogeyman. And the boogeyman for, let's be honest, the boogeyman for decades for a lot of marks was Vince McMahon. That's not the case anymore. I think that there's a reluctance, though, and I'm just hypothesizing here. It just seems like there's a reluctance by some in the audience to kind of go right for the jugular for Triple H, because I think there's a soft spot where they like what he does by and large, but when they do something, when he does something that they don't like, it seems like they're hesitant to go full blown nuclear the way they would with Vince. And I just find that not hypocrisy. I find the selective outrage to be really interesting among the Mark community, guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. It feels like Triple H definitely gets treated with kid gloves. There are some things that I see in professional wrestling. I think, I mean, ever since like women's evolution and stuff like that, like I feel like Vince ran the women way better than Triple H did. And I feel like now, all of a sudden, it seems like after SummerSlam, he's done a better job. But before then, we went like months without them being used properly. I mean, we were getting like one match, 3 minutes on television, and nobody was saying anything. But when Vince was having the women booked a certain way, they started a hashtag. It was very obvious to me where it's like, all right, we like what Triple H is doing, but
Mach, I'm sorry to I'll let you finish though, but remember too though, wasn't there a big outcry about the women's tag titles and how they weren't being featured? I think that was still under maybe the end of Vince's tenure. And wasn't that maybe, again, we're just going to speculation, where that was part of the reason why Mercedes Moné and Jimmy
We
Uso
don't-
left.
We don't know if that's true. I mean, that shit just happened at New York City Comic Con this week, where she yelled at the fan for that. The video is out there.
I don't blame her though. I don't blame
Yeah,
her.
no,
because those people act up when they go to
wholeheartedly
those
agree.
things.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, you have to be
disgusting.
respectful. You have to be respectful when you see these people. But like, how do you like? I'm not gonna go pay. Like, I love Mercedes. She's in my top like 3 female wrestlers ever. The first thing I would say out of my mouth to her is not gonna be like, "Oh man, sucks you're not with the company," because of creative. Like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. How do you say that shit to her? I would think you would just go up to her and be like, "Oh man, I miss seeing you on my television every Monday night." Like, that's a nice thing to fucking say to her.
Dude,
but
she's a prick no matter what.
Whatever, she looks amazing, so she could be
Doesn't
however
matter.
she wants.
Doesn't
But listen, getting back to the whole Triple H thing, yeah, it just feels like Triple H gets treated with kid gloves, where he doesn't really get the heat from the audience right now. Like, over the past year, the only thing he's caught heat for is for Cody not going over. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's nothing else that people complain about. He just
That was the right move. And
we don't
bitter pill to swallow for people, but that was the right move.
Yeah, I mean, when he loses again this year at Mania, they'll be angry with him again. But
You didn't say that.
no, I did say that, sucker. And then I mean, I feel like it's I just feel like that's when that's your only complaint about him. What can you do? I mean, honestly, like Vince had a slew of complaints. Everything that man did was like, oh, Vince doesn't know he's senile. Like, think about all of the shitty things that people said on the internet about him. All the wrestling pundits, he doesn't even know he didn't evolve with the times. Like, Vince was treated a certain way. It was clear that they just wanted him out of the business. And I think Pat and me talked about this during the summer. It's always kind of felt like Nick Kahn, like, his objective was to get Vince out of there. That's kind of what it always felt like.
Well, I think also too, I think there's a premise to Macho's point before. I know, Pat, we talked about it on the show too, is if you want to get that big name like Dwayne Johnson back to the product, and again, if the rumors are correct and Billy Body is saying that it's Dwayne Johnson and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania in the shithole of these United States, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania next year. Well, number one, the match isn't going to be very long, but number two, like, that's a big money match. Not to say Cody and Roman isn't the rematch that isn't going to draw. Of course it is. Mm-hmm. I just think that Endeavor, listen, dude, they're a multi-billion-dollar business. They want those big paydays. They want those big gates. Of course, Cody and Roman on Sunday night 2 is going to be the major reason why that building sells out. But it will also sell out because it's Roman against Dwayne Johnson, the star power. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting Dwayne back in there in a limited window, why not? Again, you can still have Cody on the show. Cody can either go up against Cena, maybe in a passing the torch moment or something where it doesn't really hurt it. Again, and Roman, once again, will retain. Thank the Lord. I'll get another T-shirt. And we'll see another full calendar year of Roman Reigns as champion. So it seems like Triple H, going back to the topic, Paul Levesque has been booking, I think, by and large, pretty well. I think this women's division is looking as stacked as it's ever been with recent signings, with call-ups from NXT. I'll tell you right now, I don't remember a time ever that the women's division had a plethora of really good, legitimate stars like right now. Maybe 2015, 2016, but it's been a while, guys.
Pat, can I just say something before you go real quick?
Sure.
Everybody keeps pointing out The Rock and Roman and that being the selling point. I just want to say that the one thing people won't talk about is WrestleMania is in Philly. It doesn't matter who the main event is. It's the biggest. It's one of the biggest mark crowds in the whole country.
Yeah.
It's gonna sell out regardless, just because it's in Philly. It's one of those things where it's like, dude, we get 2 nights of professional, 3 nights, right? Because they're gonna have an NXT Premium Live event that Friday. They're gonna have the Hall of Fame.
They're not really doing that anymore, per se.
No. I think they're just doing the Hall of Fame. Like, they don't do the developmental pay-per-view. They
Okay. That's what I mean.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. In 2022 in Dallas, there was the takeover. Remember, Stand and Deliver? So I don't know if last year in LA was. I don't remember if there was a takeover the night before on a Friday. I don't remember. I know in Dallas there was.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just kind of look at Dallas. Philly's going to sell out just because it's Philly. I mean, think about when the Royal Rumble's there, when Survivor Series is there. I mean, I went to a Survivor Series. The main event was Batista versus Booker T. like that shit was standing room only.
I went to the Rumble in 2018 when Asuka debuted, and the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. Like that PLE was amazing. I hate because I feel I need a tetanus shot in that shithole. But yeah, that's a great crowd.
I don't know. I almost got jumped for cheering for King Booker, but I wasn't wearing a McDonald's uniform, so I was safe.
See, so Mickey D's uniform gets you beat up. Well, there's a lot of layers to this, guys. So let me start with a couple of the things here. As far as the women's division is concerned, there's a thing that I think a lot of wrestling fans and a lot of marks just don't understand, and that's not everybody's going to get pushed at the same time. Mm-hmm. The women's title is not going to be featured like a shit all the time. The U.S. title is not going to be featured like a shit all the time. All these other titles, the world. I mean, there was a point in time where the WWE title was not featured as much as a beltless wrestler like a John Cena was. You know what I'm saying? These things happen. It kind of fluctuates. So you got to understand that that's going to happen, and you got to understand that eventually they're going to get it back to where it needs to be. In case in point, look at what we're looking at right now, right? Like right now, the women's division, all this stuff's heating up. You got all these girls that are getting involved in different matchups. They're doing stuff with the tag titles. Chelsea Green, I think, is doing fantastic work. Piper Niven too. Like that whole dynamic. Tegan Knox. You know, they're starting to do things to get people noticed, to get people out there, right? And that's Paul. That's Triple H. That's the way he booked NXT. That's the way he's going to book this show. So, you know, fans kind of got to relax when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know, give it time, like let it develop, man, because fans, they become prisoners of the moment. They live and die by one booking. And it's just like, no, man, like relax, pump the brakes, ride it out. Let's see where we're going, because we're inevitably going to get to a payoff, and the payoff's going to be worth it. As far as Mercedes in that situation is concerned, good for her, you know, because I'll tell you right now, a lot of the people that go to these wrestling conventions, Comic Cons, some of the biggest degenerates you've ever seen in your life. Okay. All right. They make the porn convention look like my 9th birthday party. Ooh. All right. That's how fucking fucked up these people.
Which, by the way, Eroticon is coming to New Jersey in November, by the way, folks, just as a reminder.
Yeah. Ooh. In case you want to go to that, whatever. Just don't buy a Fifi and don't get weird or get a boner in front of porn stars.
Am I being treated like a mark right now? There's really erotic Comic Cons.
Yeah. It's Eroticon.
Are you serious, Macho? You're Puerto Rican.
Bro, there's conventions for everything.
What does that mean? I get pussy? I don't need
I'm just saying.
Macho, just to give you clarity here, at the illustrious New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center, which I believe is in Edison, New Jersey, Exotica with 3 X's 2023 will take place the weekend of Saturday, I believe Friday, the 3rd of November, and ends on Sunday, November the 5th at 5 p.m. So from Friday at 4 p.m. till Sunday 5 p.m. in Edison, New Jersey, there will be the biggest congregation of virgins, AEW fans, and maybe unregistered sex offenders that will be within the city limits of Edison.
The smell. That's
Mira, papi, are you going? Because that's a lot of information that you just like spewed out.
No, I just Googled it.
Okay.
I just Googled it.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
No.
I didn't know if you were reading your tickets.
I've gone to it years ago. I'm not gonna lie. I think any guy that lives with
I've been to one.
Dude, there's giant billboards on 17, bro.
I never went back, bro. That's because I went with a bunch of fucking dweebs, and it was embarrassing, bro.
It was alarming. Yeah, it was alarming. Yeah, it was alarming. Like the stench of just like rotten pussy and sweaty armpits was like permeating throughout the entire building.
Mysterious white stains all over some clothing.
Just white powder everywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like Tony Khan's bedroom. But getting back to the original conversation before we got sidetracked here with the plug for the porn convention, which, by the way, Exotica with 3 X's. I'm Paddy Rican with 3 R's. So hey, come on, man. You know, one hand washes the other here. You know what I'm saying? Give us a plug. We gave you a plug.
That's right.
But you know, Nick Kahn, he came in for the sole purpose of trying to sell the company. He had to clean up everything about the company. So they got rid of a lot of people that could have been a problem. They got rid of a lot of wrestlers that had issues. They fixed up the entire company. They fixed up the entire structure. And who was the last guy left that had issues? Vince. You know what I'm saying? But obviously they all respect Vince for what he's done and what he's contributed. But, you know, shit happens, man. Like, you know, you got to evolve. You got to evolve. But I'm not one of these people that said that he was ever a bad booker. I mean, the dude evolved with the times. He understood how to market wrestling to social media, how to market wrestling to YouTube, how to market wrestling to cable, to fucking streaming, everything. You know what I'm saying? And he knocked it out of the park every single fucking time. What I will say is that I think he got to a point where he had enough fuck you money that he was just like, you know what? I'm just going to book shit that makes me laugh. And that's what he did. That's really what he did.
But he gave us special moments, whether
He
anybody
did.
wants to admit
He
this
did.
or not. We had WrestleMania close with 3 women, the hottest story in professional wrestling.
Did
we had
he-
WrestleMania close with Sasha versus Bianca.
Bro, we had Stone Cold throw Booker T down a fucking runway in the friggin' supermarket saying, what did he say?
But Booker loves that. Like, he talks about that a lot. He loves that grocery scene. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Triple H had the opportunity to book the best women's match in the past 15 years as the main event at night 1 of WrestleMania. He chose a fucking tag match with 75 super kicks.
Bro, women's it's overrated, dude. They're not
Nah,
doing
man.
it.
I'm gonna disagree with you here, Mach. I think that there was a lot more heat going into that tag match than there was going into that women's title match. And I think at the end of the day,
You need to take that love women crap back to must love wrestling, bro. This is working the most, bro. We have heat here.
Listen. I'm just saying, I hate.
We all
that
love
tag
women
match.
here. I don't think we're disputing that fact.
No. I'm just saying I think that tag match was unmemorable. The only thing I remember
Are you
about it.
Macho, with all due respect, let me just say, again, it's very rare I ever agree with the PBR superstar. but I think that the Bloodline storyline going into early this year and how hot it was, I think that, I get it. You want the Rumble winner, whether it's the men or the women, to headline one of the Manias. I understand that. But I think that Rhea and Charlotte, because we had seen it before, different circumstances, I get it. But we had seen it before. Mind you, yes, during the pandemic and obviously in the people less arena for WrestleMania. But I think that Owens and Zayn against the Usos, and I think the heat going into that match, that had to be the main event. I think because you knew that was going to help create a little bit of the friction going into night 2 with Cody and Roman. I'm with you about Rhea and Charlotte main eventing because of the premise of the Rumble winners. I get all that. However, I would say that the heat going into, look at the drama and the emotion and how invested we all got with the Bloodline story between Sammy and Kevin. What are they going to get together? Are they going to reunite against a common enemy, the Usos, who absolutely just beat them to shreds for months and months and months? I think I'm with you about the 75 super kicks. I mean, that gets exhausting. But I think that tag team title match, short of the British Bulldogs against the Dream Team in WrestleMania 2, I can't remember a match with that much heat. With a tag title match.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. My thing is WrestleMania 13. That's how I look at it. Charlotte and Rhea will be remembered in the future as the match that stole WrestleMania 39.
That's better than headline.
No one will remember that tag match. That's my point. That match, name a spot.
We remember it.
Macho,
I can name about 5 spots.
But Macho, the triple threat outshines that match with Rhea and Charlotte. Let's be fair.
Oh, I disagree.
Gunther, Sheamus, and McIntyre, that wasn't as good as Rhea and Charlotte?
No, I think you're looking at it because I think that's the thing, because he mentioned the must love wrestling thing. I'm not looking at it as like it's a women's match. I'm looking at it just structurally sound. I felt like that match was better. When I'm looking at the match, when I went back and watched WrestleMania 39, I came out of it thinking like, oh yeah, Charlotte and Rhea stole the show. That's how I looked at it.
What sweater are you wearing, Macho? What are you wearing? What sweater is that?
Devils.
You're lucky, bro, because I would kick your ass right now, bro.
Beautiful sweater.
First of all, I just want to say, and I'm sorry I'm getting a little emotional here, but I'm really proud of you, Fernando. All right. For the first time that I've known you since we started talking about wrestling, you don't sound like a fucking mark. And I feel like my teachings have finally gotten to you, man. And I want to thank myself, first of all, but I want to thank you for being accepting and understanding of my teachings. You are my Padawan, but you know what, Fernando? You are no longer the Padawan. You are a Jedi. You are a Jedi. Let's give it up for Fernando, guys. Come on. He's a Jedi now.
Why would you want to be a Jedi?
You deserve it. You deserve it.
Coincidentally, I am going to be a Jedi for Halloween next weekend at the parties in New York City.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm going to say this, okay? I think that you both bring up interesting points, right? Mach, I get what you're saying. I get the significance of it. The match was fantastic. Charlotte was fucking knocked out most of that match, you know, and she fucking still kept going. And they delivered, man. And they finally got that chance to redeem themselves for that match that they had at WrestleMania with fucking nobody. You know what I'm saying? For the NXT title.
Yeah.
But you look at the crowd during that match, and you look at the crowd in the main event, and those people were on their fucking feet the entire match in the main event.
Yep.
The entire match.
I get it.
And look, I never get tired of a good super kick.
Never.
Fucking A. Look, I'm gonna slap my thigh now.
Shawn
There
Michaels
you go.
style.
I just slapped my thigh for you guys, all right? But I just think that there was way more heat. There was way more money in it. Okay, too. That's the other thing too. You got to look at the money. You got to look at the people
Storyline
selling
investment.
merch. You got to look at the people selling merch. And again, no knock to Charlotte, no knock to Rhea. I love them both. I love Rhea.
Yeah.
All right. I'd fucking Rhea. I would do anything for you. All right. I'm serious.
We're taking a turn here.
Buddy York, whatever your name is.
Buddy, whatever.
Buddy York. I think that's his name.
Buddy,
I
York's out of here.
Diesel, bro.
If he don't fucking treat you good, I'll treat you good. You know what I'm saying?
like
Saying
the
that
chances
guy
of
probably
failure.
wrestles crocodiles, and you're over here talking shit about
I'll make
it.
you a arroz con gandules. I'll take you to my fucking mom's. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because
Get
you
in my
know,
bedroom.
hey, bro, you know, I'm scared of Dom more than I am of Buddy York. All right, that's all I'm saying.
You don't want
But
that heat.
I just think that there was a lot more heat. There was a lot more heat in that main event.
Wait,
And that's why that main event worked. And I get what you're saying. Nobody's going to remember the spots, but everybody's going to remember them fucking winning. Everybody's going to remember the fucking stunner, the
remember
haluva kick, Sammy
Oh,
getting that
you
big
remember
haluva
it.
kick at the fucking
Crying.
end. You know? That shit was good. Can you go back to doing sign language again in your little fucking window down there? I'm trying to fucking say something. Jesus Christ, you're the worst. Anyways, but I just think the heat and the fucking money was there. And that's that. At the end of the day, that's what makes the decision. But I do feel where you're coming from, bro. I do
get it, but we typically in our history, you know that for me, it's about what's inside the ring as opposed to what gets them inside the ring.
Yeah, but
so
what
for
was
me,
in
it's
the
all
ring was really good.
what
In
kind
the
of
main
sex talk
event.
is that?
I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to
But
agree to
emotion
disagree.
is
I did not think that was a good match. No, I understand that. I agree with you there. I guess when I looked at the match, when I watched it back, I was just like, I could have seen this match on Raw.
I'm gonna call you the poodle from now on.
You know what I'm gonna say? At least I think personally they're gonna try and make up for it this year in Philly, and I think we're gonna see Rhea taking on Becky Lynch. That's what I think we're gonna end up.
Oh fuck yeah!
And that's gonna be better because Becky Lynch is better than Charlotte, so that's gonna be
I
even
agree
more
with that.
awesome.
I agree with that, but I disagree with the premise. I think whoever wins the Rumble, the men's Rumble, I think that's going to challenge. That person's going to challenge Seth Rollins, and that's going to headline night one.
CM Punk.
Only if it's Carlos Miguel Punk. Only if it's him.
Fair enough.
Why would they challenge Rollins?
Chick
How do we
Magnet
know
Punk.
he's going to make it to Mania?
He might
'Cause
keep
Cody
the
gotta
title,
finish-
yo.
Cody gotta
I
finish
think,
the story.
I got a feeling they're gonna fuck over Priest. I don't know why, but I
No,
got a feeling they're gonna
I
fuck
just
over
get the-
Priest, and that's how they're
What
gonna
I
make
tell
him
you,
face.
Macho? What I tell you?
Macho,
Yeah,
Macho, I just get the feeling that not so much about Punk, but I think whoever they're trying to line up there, I think Rollins headline.
Not LA Knight.
Well, we'll find out. And more on LA Knight in a moment. But speaking of emotion, Ross Berman, good article this week on Wrestling Inc. Speaking of emotion, Tony Khan did not take very kindly to AEW Dynamite losing to NXT in the ratings last week. A pretty significant margin. Apparently, afterwards, Tony Khan and Raid was engaged in a flurry of sharp social media activity that left a bad taste in many people's mouths, including the host of 83 Weeks, Eric Bischoff. Now, Eric Bischoff wanted to say last week, quote, had I had my ass handed to me as decidedly as Tony Khan did and had it handed to him, the last thing I would have done was to come out and try to spin that ass kicking as any kind of victory, said Bischoff. Which, again, a little context here. That's revisionist history. I think we both know in the mid to late 90s during the Monday Night Wars, if there was Twitter, if there was Instagram or Facebook, I'm pretty sure Bischoff would spare no expense about using those platforms to take shots at Vince. Having said that, the former president of WCW was adamant that he would not have done a single thing that Khan did in his attempts to get one over on WWE for its NXT ratings. Quote, I think he went too far. Bischoff said of detailing WWE's behavior during his mother's health struggles last year as a way to blame the ill that he has towards WWE. Khan has said numerous AEW talent had told him of WWE pressuring them to break their contract, while Kahn was doing what he could to help his mother while she was battling cancer at the Mayo Clinic. This is not the time to pull your pants down and show the world your ass, according to Eric Bischoff. Bischoff thought that Kahn's admission to hating part of the professional wrestling audience was also the wrong move for a promoter who's on his heels and trying to win back an audience share that he's losing every single week. You know what? Eric Bischoff isn't wrong there. And I think that someone needs to take away Tony Khan's phone as soon as possible.
Well, did you? I'm sorry. Did I miss that part where talent has actually confronted Tony Khan to ask him to stay off his phone?
I don't know that. Well, I'm just saying. I would suggest that some people in the inner circle need to have a come to Jesus moment with Tony and maybe take his phone away or something, because he can't keep doing this. He's losing gates. He lost the rating war last week, and in such a big deal that he made about, Tuesday, Title Tuesday, his birthday, everything that went into that Dynamite, which
was kind of messed up, bro. It was his birthday, bro.
No, well, listen,
he still had an 8-ball. He's fine.
I get that. You top it up a little Adderall. It's great. It's great. It's great for your arrhythmia. But this is the thing, and I take Bischoff with a grain of salt, because this is a guy who, during his tenure, and it's easier for him to sort of speak from the rafters, from the bleachers now, when, let's be honest, I mean, mid to late 90s, we didn't have any social media. Yes, we had the internet. There was no YouTube. Unless you went on websites or you saw Nitro and clips where he's taking digs at Vince. I mean, I think Bischoff, I think he means well by trying to give Tony Khan some solid advice, but let's be honest, I think it's rich of him to talk about what someone should have been doing during a wrestling war when Bischoff was as ruthless and cutthroat as anybody, guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong.
No, you're talking to like the WCW lifer here. Like, this was my brand. How about it, Pat? Like, I love, like, that was my company.
Yeah, he loved WCW.
I'll be honest with you. I agree with half of what you're saying. It's the right message. It's the wrong messenger. Like, Bischoff shouldn't be the guy saying this. Now, if a guy like Foley happens to go on Foley's pod and he talks about this, maybe it's like, okay, like, maybe he knows what he's talking about. Maybe Tony should probably listen. If somebody like Bruce Pritchard does it, then it makes sense. But Eric Bischoff, it always felt like he's kind of angry at the company for not hiring him. Kind of one of those things. We don't know if that's true. He says it all the time in the most passive-aggressive way. I wouldn't take that job if he offered me a ton of money. And then he laughs and says, well, I would never say no to money. So we know how he feels about it. But with Tony Khan, I just feel like he's doing this himself. It's all self-inflicted. I don't think his talent is doing it. There's no troubles backstage. There's nothing like that. But, dude, you brought in almost a 50-year-old star, and you brought him in worse than you brought in Bryan. You brought him in worse than you brought in Adam Cole. He brought him in, and he didn't give us new matchups. He gave us a wish list on the first scrum, and then his first feud is with Christian. Well, we've already seen that shit.
They got to finish the story.
Dude, all we're watching is a rehashing of a shitty program that they had in WWE. Because tell me right now, what match out of those 3 matches that Edge and Christian had with each other is memorable? It wasn't. Yeah. Some people just don't work each other well. That's just how it works. Not everybody's Brett and Owen. Not everybody's Brett and Bulldog. And you're just looking at it like, why would you put all of your eggs in the Edge basket? You know what I mean? Like, you have talent there. Swerve Strickland.
You mean Adam basket?
Kenny Omega. Yeah, Kenny Omega. Like, you have all of these superstars right there at your disposal that people have been dying to see in top spots. Like, explain to me how it doesn't make sense to have Kenny Omega feud with MJF right now.
Because he's not from WWE.
Why wouldn't that be a thing? No, you bring in Adam Copeland and you make him the top guy in your company immediately. Kind of like roll out the red carpet, and it pushes everybody else back. And every time he gets a free agent, everybody takes a back seat to that free agent.
Macho Khan's notorious for this. He did this with Danielson in 2021. Bryan Danielson came in as hot as anybody right after All Out, and you would think going into Grand Slam, at the Arthur Ashe Tennis Center, that when he fought Omega in that Iron Man match, I'm sorry, that time limit draw. Sorry, it wasn't Iron Man. It was a time limit draw. You would think that was the perfect time to put the title on Bryan Danielson. He was as hot as anybody. But again, he was devoted to to Kenny because he said, all right, well, Kenny's going to give it to Hangman. Hangman's the homegrown guy. He deserves it after coming back from paternity leave. Kahn has shown that he'll drop the ball with a hot free agent and not push him to the moon. He did it with Danielson. He did it with my man Adam Cole. He did it with a few other guys he's brought in. And they're just Keith Lee. Bro, Keith Lee was supposed to be this monster babyface. Other than you want to hear him at a college commencement ceremony speaking, but what are you doing? What are you doing with people like that? So I'm sorry, I had to just chop that in there. My bad.
No, I agree. I don't disagree with a single thing you said there. I just look at it as this guy. Everything that's happening to his company right now, it's all self-inflicted. That's kind of like where I wanted to just get to my point. So
the snowman strikes again. Dude, come on. Like, easy. He's saying this stuff. Why? Because he's trying to get clicks. He's trying to get fucking views. Talking about Tony Khan's going to bring all the fucking marks to talk shit on you. So that makes a lot of fucking sense. But what's up?
And Conrad. Remember,
Conrad. I've been working on my Conrad impersonation. Now Conrad kind of sounds like this. It sounds like got a marble in his mouth and just trying to talk.
Like, I love when he yells at Eric. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's Tony got a sweet head of hair. So fucking I'll say this, like, Tony, this is what he does. He brings in a star, he books them in underwhelming shit, or he books them in angles that were angles in another company that he's trying to capitalize on because he don't know how to tell fucking stories. That's basically what he's doing. So with Edge, he's having him go after Christian. Like, why didn't you build towards that? Why didn't you have them like not cross paths? Like, why didn't you have Edge come out in a big spot against MJF or something like that? What happened to the rankings? That's my other question. Where's remember the rankings?
2 years is the rankings.
That was the logic. That was the logic why they didn't. That was the logic for not pushing Bryan Danielson into the title picture with Kenny Omega, because he has to work his way up the rankings. Bro, you missed out on a million good matches with this guy. He was fucking hot. It's fucking stupid. So this is what he does, unfortunately. And he booked very fucking emotionally. And he's the definition of a mark being a booker. You know what I'm saying? Whatever booking committees are out there, whatever people think that they know all this stuff, you don't know this shit. You don't know this shit because you've never done it. And you've never been around it. So you don't get it. You don't get what draws. You don't get how to tell fucking stories. You know what I'm saying? So this is Tony Khan being Tony Khan. And as far as the stupid fucking comments, it's like, why are you behaving that way, dude? Regardless of whether you own a wrestling company or not, you own a fucking NFL team and you own a fucking Premier League team. Now imagine fucking opposition players. Imagine players from that club in the Premier League team and Fulham look at that shit going, yo, look at this motherfucker. He's losing his fucking shit. Trevor Lawrence over there being like, yo, what the fuck did I get myself into? Like all these dudes looking at him like, yo, why is this guy being a fucking idiot? That's not the way a millionaire should fucking behave. That's not the way somebody who knows about the business should behave. That's the way a fucking Mark behaves, unfortunately, man.
And unfortunately,
too late for him.
And unfortunately now, again, as we approach, heavy weapon or fully loaded or full cart, whatever it's called, coming up in Shopping Cart Central, wherever it is, coming up in November at the famous Inglewood Forum, the home of my Lakers. Back in the day.
You're such a bandwagon jumper, man. I just gotta say, I gotta get it out of the way. You're a fucking bandwagon jumper. You got like 7 fucking teams. You're a hoe. And at the core of you're a Knicks fan. That's what you really are. And you don't want to face the fact that you're a fucking Knicks fan. But I'm a Nets fan, and I know we suck, and I know we're always gonna fucking suck. So I accept that. And I don't bandwagon jump like
I don't know what you're talking about. But getting back to
basketball gypsy.
But getting back to Full Gear at the Inglewood Forum, you would think that Kahn would be focusing on, hey, after maybe some rough gates, some rough bat press, I got to get all my ducks in a row and in order here for a pay-per-view that has become kind of a staple in the fall for him. And right now, the main event as it stands is my man, the Switchblade, Jay White, the Bang Bang Gang will be challenging MJF for the world title. Not a bad main event, but that card, again, we're about 3 weeks away, okay, folks? It's literally, if I'm not mistaken, I think Full Gear is Election Day weekend, which is about 2 weeks from now. I hate to tell you, that card is not. I mean, I think there's 2 matches. So instead of worrying about what marks are doing, answering marks on Twitter, imagine Vince McMahon answering a mark on Twitter and engaging in a back and forth with him. There's no way they could have done that. But with 2 weeks to go and Full Gear again, there's barely 1 match. Now, mind you, the Dynamite before Full Gear, like that week, he'll announce 14 matches. And with the pre-show and then the main card, there'll be a total of 17 matches for Full Gear. Having said that, his priority is just in the wrong place, and it shows by not picking and choosing your battles wisely. Okay, you lost to WWE. You've been losing to WWE. You're a secondary company. You have to kind of come into that awareness and acceptance. Accept what you are. Like, folks, I'm wearing an Impact shirt. For over 20 years, Impact knows what they are. Yes, there was a time between 2008, Main Event Mafia, 2009, 2010, Hogan and Bischoff came in. There was a time when Impact was drawing good. Well, excuse me, 2 million viewers at one point, but they never forgot what they were. They knew that, okay, let's challenge WWE in January of 2010. They tried it for 6 months on Monday nights. It didn't work. They had some awareness. They looked in the mirror. They went back to Thursdays. And again, they're the second longest reigning company in North America with 1/10 of the budget that Tony Khan has. I think Tony Khan needs some serious reflection.
They're different companies, though. Eric Bischoff is a perfect person to bring up in this situation because Eric Bischoff has been asked all the time, why did he book Hogan versus Goldberg on Nitro? And he made it very clear, because we are a television company first. He needs to sell Dynamite and Collision first. The problem is nobody's fucking buying and nobody's watching their shows. So he needs to do everything in his power. And honestly, it's 2023. There are wrestling fans that are not going to put up with watching their favorite stars come over here. Like if there's a niche audience in AEW, I promise you there's a niche group of NJPW fans. And if I want to follow Okada come to the United States and then I'm going to watch him lose every time he wrestles over here, or I'm going to watch like Tanahashi lose all the time, like it's going to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to watch my guys just go over there and then just get squashed by people that don't make any sense. Like it just doesn't feel like something. He's just not running the company correctly. He needs somebody to teach him the basics. Right now, he's that child in the middle of the living room floor who's just trying to play with all of his action figures at once. And he's like, oh, today I want to book this guy versus this guy with absolutely zero story being told. It's just like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to book these two with zero story. Sometimes he gets lucky, like Orange Cassidy winning the international championship again. He got lucky. Cassidy's like not far removed from that title. But sometimes he puts himself in a corner and it sucks, man. It's just like his TV sucks.
Yeah, I just think that it's past the point of no return. And it's been like this for a very long time. And I think, he should have done he should have done what Billy Corgan did. He should have brought in wrestling people to educate him, to break him in, to, teach him about the business, to teach him how to book, to teach him why to do things. You know what I'm saying? Go in there with a humble attitude. I don't know if he did. I don't know if he did that. I don't know if he went in, giving respect to these guys who fucking traveled how many miles, lost a lot of things in their fucking life just because of fucking wrestling, sacrificed so much because of wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just think that maybe Tony Khan didn't do that. He didn't want to take advice from people like that. He thought that he knew better because he used to book stuff when he was a little kid in his fucking mind. And he knows what fans like and all this other stuff. And, the data that he seems to compile to do stuff as well. Because, I think he has an analytics company, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. But like the guy just didn't learn. He didn't bother to learn. And you look at NWA, and even though they don't have a big budget or anything, their programming is a lot better and it makes more sense and it's more wrestling centric in a traditional sense. Impact too. You know what I'm saying? But, it's just, for me personally, I can't watch Impact. I respect what they do. It's a little too podunk for me, but that's just me, man. I want to see gimmicks. I want to see fucking stories. I fucking watched my 10,000 hours of fucking wrestling. I'm good. I've seen all this cat shit. I've seen World of Sport. I've seen the best wrestling in the world. I'm good. Mm-hmm. Make me interested. Give me something to fucking get invested in. That's all I'm saying.
Well, speaking of getting invested, on that very same episode of 83 Weeks, and a story by Matthew Wilkinson via Wrestling Inc., LA Knight's rise in WWE has been meteoric, going from the manager of the Maximum Male Models to in a position to now challenge Roman Reigns to the WWE Undisputed Championship coming up at Crown Jewel, potentially. As his stretches unfolded, he has been compared to The Rock by fans and colleagues, but Eric Bischoff believes his ascension has been more like Stone Cold Steve Austin. This week on 83 Weeks, he pointed out that Austin began to find his character after he was fired from WCW and he went to ECW. And I was able to do something similar during his time in Impact Wrestling and the NWA. Quote, Steve Austin found the elements of what became Stone Cold Steve Austin that were really elements of who he really was. It was almost born organically. I like to believe that what's happening with LA Knight right now is the same thing. It's not following anybody's pattern. It's just a natural progression of a very talented guy that's finally getting his due and finally found his footing. It was a rough go for a bit for Knight as he struggled with the Max Dupree gimmick he had been saddled with by Vince McMahon. Another parallel Bischoff draws between
He
Knight.
struggled. How did he struggle? Was he struggle? Were they going to take his fucking house away? He didn't have something to eat. How the fuck do you struggle when you're employed by a company that's paying you that much? Why? Because you're doing a gimmick that you don't fucking like. Suck it up.
Well, Bischoff goes, quote, the ringmaster shit the bed, and that didn't work, which opened the door for Steve to become Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think perhaps the same thing is happening with LA Knight, leaving that gimmick due to Paul Levesque converting him back to LA Knight, and now the rest is history. Listen, I think we all know, and again, as a broadcast journalist, I'll attempt to be objective here. I understand what Bischoff's trying to say in the sense of a guy that in a short amount of time went from again, dude, like the comparisons of the ringmaster, that's correct. That gimmick did shit the bed. That was a bad gimmick by Vince. Again, 0.1% and the other 99 have been great. I get that. The ringmaster shit the bed, like Bischoff said. I think, Max Dupree, that was dumb. Looking at Maxine Dupree was the only enjoyable part of that gimmick. She still is nice to look at. And I think what he's done in a calendar year, again, he's a top mid-card babyface, but I don't think Bischoff's wrong. Maybe he's conveying the message poorly, but I can understand what he's trying to say here, guys.
I agree. I feel like it has been organic. It's almost like the fans are willing it to happen.
Oh, that's right.
Whether we like it or not, I feel like this is going to be one of those things that if this guy winds up winning a world heavyweight championship, it's going to piss off more people than make people happy, because there's a lot of people like the three of us here who that just don't see him as a main eventer. Mm-hmm. And we're probably in the minority, because obviously, like, if thousands of people are buying his t-shirts and thousands of people are cheering for him and the company sees value in him, then, it's just something we kind of have to get on board with. But personally, when I look at LA Knight, I see him I see him as a US champion. I see him as an Intercontinental champion. That's what I see right now. I will be honest, I watched his match with Solo on Friday and I thought to myself, fucking finally, a good match by LA Knight. Like, he actually looked good. He felt genuine. Like, that was a good night for him on Friday. I don't know if he'll capitalize off it, if we'll get another good night from him this Friday and he'll continue moving forward, but they are doing their damnedest to get this dude over. The amount of bootlicking that John Cena is doing for this guy live on SmackDown weekly, it's like they're forcing it to happen. And you know what happens when they force someone down your throat? Look what happened with Roman. 8 years, fans hated this fucking guy. And then he became a heel, and it was like, oh, we love Roman.
Yeah,
like, we love him now.
Yeah, but Mach, I think that to your point, yes, you're right about sort of forcing, Knight on our television screens. And I think obviously it's by design with Cena. Cornette had a very interesting point on his review of the match at Fastlane, where historically, hey, you know what? Cena would raise Knight's hand and the fans would want to pop that. No, it was like smart. It's like, of course, it's all by design, but Knight instead refused and raised Cena's hand. I think that was sort of like the symbolism of, hey, here's the guy trying to make it deferring to a legend, which is what Cena is, right?
Greatest of all time.
He was
greatest of all time, man.
Well, Cena was
16-time world champion, the longevity.
Well,
unbelievable. What a talent.
The goal was in the ring on Friday night, but his name is Roman Reigns, and I think I like that little dig there by saying, "Oh, the announcers might call you that," but back tonight though, I just think that it's been a very good organic rise in the sense of the fandom. I don't have any data or numbers to put up here and say, well, he's doing this merch wise. I'm assuming that he's selling well. You've seen a lot of signs. You're seeing a lot of t-shirts, a lot of the echoes during the promos. Having said that, and I talked to Pat about this.
A lot of that stuff's piped in, you know.
Oh, now it's piped in, right?
No, it is. It's piped in with him, dude. It is.
Okay, well,
it's piped in. Tucker Carlson said it the other night, so obviously you're going to believe it now. You believe everything else he says.
Uribe, if you're insinuating that Dom's piped in, I've been at 3 shows with Dom. I promise you, that's not piped.
That's a guy that's over. That's a guy that's over naturally.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, and it's funny because, and I was talking about this with Pat after we left the Devil's Open House at Prudential Center. A lot remains between now and Crown Jewel. Let's see how that match with Roman goes. Mm-hmm. You have to believe, obviously, he's going to lose. Whether he loses cleanly, I don't think it hurts him.
Yeah.
Between now and Tampa in January at Tropicana Field for the Rumble, let's keep seeing what these pops are like. I would argue that the best direction they could do at night is to maybe have him face Gunter, and taking the belt off of Gunter, that would really make him. I think, but anything above that, it's still too fresh right now to say, oh, Knight's a world champion type of material. I think if he's the guy that goes and unseats Gunter at Mania, that's a big rub for him. But we're still months and months away from that.
Ah, man, I'm going to sound like a mark here. I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to see Gunther drop the title to LA Knight. Go wrestle Logan Paul. Go wrestle Logan Paul for the United States Championship. That's a great, like, let us see Logan Paul versus LA Knight at WrestleMania. That'd be perfect.
That's perfect. That's his level. That's it right there.
That would be perfect. But no, I would much rather see Gunther drop the title in a triple threat to his own group.
No more triple
threat. They all break up and Ludwig Kaiser gets the title, because that's what it looks like it's happening.
Chad Gable. He's gonna break away from that shit.
I mean, yeah.
Chad Gable. I
would love that. I just don't know. The fuck did you just say? The Miz?
The Miz.
Miz?
You know what?
10-time champ. That'd be cool.
You know who
I'm okay with that.
Could be the guy. Fucking Braun Breaker. He could be a guy they could do that with.
Ooh.
Or Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes
get me all excited. You
know, that's interesting because if you're gonna have somebody,
you
got to make somebody young.
Why would the second best member of a team be the guy to beat Gunther? Why would they pick Carmelo Hayes when the star is the other guy?
Braun Breaker? Well, because
Trick Williams.
Oh, Trick Williams.
You and this Trick Williams guy.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I got to disagree there. I think Carmelo Hayes is better than Trick Williams, man. They're both good. Don't get me wrong, but
wait, who's Trick? The tall guy?
You know I'm a massive Booker T fan, and that's who Trick reminds me of. So I gotta rock with Trick right now. Like,
that's fucking funny. That's fucking funny.
That's what it is.
Getting back to LA Knight real quick. He's well, I mean, I get where he's coming from. I get what he's saying, right? And Bischoff has probably crossed paths with him. He's rubbed a lot of the old timers the right way. He was with Percy Pringle, him and Brian Cage. He rubs the old school people the right way, right? But for me, it's an unoriginal fucking gimmick. You're copying Steve Austin, you're copying The Rock, you're coming out here, you're doing their shit. I get that this generation needs something like that. But Roman Reigns could be something like that, or somebody else could be something like that. Rehashing 90s gimmicks, having them come out there and do the people's elbow and all that stuff. I don't know. I just think it's unoriginal. And that's always been my big fucking, pet peeve, which I forgot to mention.
Bro, but you don't hear how the crowd goes crazy when he comes out, though. Bro.
The crowd goes, the crowd gives him a pop. I mean, the crowd goes crazy. The roof came on the place. Like, why are his pops always suddenly the fucking biggest now? Relax. We know he's over. Settle down.
Zack Ryder got massive pops, too.
Yeah, Zack Ryder, Elias. I mean, this speaks to the insecurity of LA Knight fans. It really does.
Fernando.
It really, really does. Because it's like every time you got to point out, oh, what a huge pop. Oh, wow. People, there was somebody, fucking ear was bleeding when they came out of the arena or something like that. Like, no. No,
again,
it's
this is
not
a
that
guy
big. He's
again, this is
over.
a guy
Great.
that but he was languishing in a shit gimmick.
Yeah, languishing for fucking 6 figures a year, Fernando. Let me fucking languish like that. I'd love that shit. Working for fucking WWE, being on TV, actually being on TV, even if you're a part of this gimmick. Like, come on, man. He made the most of his opportunities. That's what workers are supposed to do.
I get
that, but he wasn't getting them because Vince had him in that prism of I just see him as this, and Paul was like, no, I see him as this. And let's be fair, Paul rolled the dice, and it worked. I mean, we got to be honest about it.
He's not doing anything. He's doing a gimmick that he's done before. It's took him how long to get this fucking gimmick over now? Why? Because he has the WWE machine behind him. Yep. Like, yo, dude, this narrative of like, oh, the poor guy, he was Max Dupree and all this stuff, dude. He was on TV. The crowd liked him. He made the most of the fucking character.
Maxine, dude.
It doesn't matter. But bro, even with or without Maxine, people were into him because he did a good job with the character. That's what a worker's supposed to do. You know, and if you don't do that and you complain about it and you cry about it and you bitch about it, you're fucking marked, bro.
Hey, Pat, he's the Mountie with work boots.
So I have two things to say here. One, I feel like we're being super unfair to LA Knight right now by comparing him to Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's super unfair.
Well,
you can't compare him to the greatest character in the history of professional wrestling. Like you can't. That's ridiculous. You're telling me Max Dupree was on the level of the Ringmaster? I don't think so. The Ringmaster was a shit gimmick.
You know what? Mach is right. And I think that, again, it's the Messenger, I think, didn't do a good job again in conveying it. I think that in between, as you're slicing the apple down to the core, I think what he's trying to say is, again, I'm just hypothesizing, that, okay, you know what? He's getting a chance here from a gimmick that wasn't very good per se. And again, Triple H rolled the dice, said, let's convert him back to LA Knight. Let's see what he does.
What roll of the dice? You act like if he was like taking a chance to save the Titanic or something. Again, it's always got to be so dramatic about this guy. Like, roll the dice. They took the chance. They rolled the dice with LA Knight because it wasn't going to work. Like, yo, like, come on, man. Come on.
My question to you, Pat. Yeah, my question to you, Pat, is why
with a lot of guys lately and girls and said, hey, and it's worked out. Right,
but so like
you're rolling the dice more with Johnny Gargano. You're rolling the dice more with Johnny Gargano. You're rolling the dice more with guys like that are little. This dude looks good. He can talk well. Word. You're not rolling the dice with him. He's gonna figure it out.
But see, why him? Like, why him? Why did he go back? Why didn't Pete Dunne go back? Why didn't Gunther go? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, what was wrong with the Max Dupree gimmick? Whose decision was that? That's what I can't figure out is why out of all the characters,
it was happy, David.
It was happy. His gimmick was very happy.
Well,
yeah.
But I could be wrong, but I'm thinking of the timeline in my head. I think that's when Vince was still overseeing creative, and I think that when they brought him up from NXT after feuding for the coveted $1 million championship with the country guy, the cryptocurrency guy, they brought him up.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Cameron Grimes. That's right. They brought him up, and I think that Vince decided to sort of incorporate the other two guys that were not languishing, but like maybe didn't have a character or some specific storyline. And they did that. Okay, Maximilian models and all that. But at the end of the day, I think Paul rolled the dice and said, you know what? There's still something with this guy. Let's convert him back. And let's be honest, for a calendar year now, from last fall, going into his feud with Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul, and that abortion of a match at the Royal Rumble.
It's memorable.
Mountain Dew.
Better or worse, it's memorable, bro. It is. It's memorable. For better or worse, it's memorable. The glow in the dark thing. I mean, they had a glow in the dark wrestling match, and then the fucking stupid dive with the bunny rabbit and all that shit. Look, the match itself wasn't fantastic, but at least that thing was memorable. Yeah. When it gets looked at in fucking 20 years time, you know, then there you go.
And then when you think when he gets thrown off a balcony on top of a mattress, and then going into Mania, you know, you start seeing some momentum. You start seeing the character work, the promos in the ring. He wasn't at WrestleMania, right? LA Knight in LA. I mean, I could have booked that in my sleep, but whatever. All right, they didn't use him whatsoever during the 2-night PLE. Okay, and from that moment on, you've seen incremental moments where the crowd organically has gotten behind him. Pat's right. I'm not trying to make the mountain of a molehill here concerning the decibel level in the building. But let's not undercut either that he's gotten over, to Macho's point, he's gotten over organically and the fans are still with him. Whether or not when we get to Tampa in January for the Royal Rumble, if he's still over, because he's losing to Roman. Now, whether he loses clean,
Roman's shaving his head.
Yeah, right. Whether or not he loses clean out, we don't know. But if he's still over going into the Rumble, then yes, there'll be some cries for he should not win the Rumble. He should either challenge for the U.S. title or unseat Gunther. That's his ceiling right now for at least the next calendar year, in my opinion. But I could be wrong.
I get what you're saying. I get that you guys are all giddy about him. I just think that this is a guy who he was going to work out regardless, man. He was going to work out regardless. The guy's got a
Max Dupree. That
name is very happy.
Okay, what about Rico? Rico Constantino. Rico Constantino was a really good fucking wrestler.
It was hot.
Had a match with Chris Benoit. Had matches with he had a segment with Steve Austin where Steve Austin stunned him in OVW. And he came to fucking the main roster, and what did he do? He was managing Billy and Chuck. Yo, he made the most of his opportunity. He got over, though. He got over, and that's what a real worker does. And Dupree did that. But this narrative that like, oh, he was languishing. Oh, like Vince was just like, bitch, this is what you gotta do.
But Patrick, he wasn't gonna be where he is now as Max Dupree. That's just not the case.
Yeah,
you don't know that. You don't know that. That's what I'm saying.
That stable was at best lukewarm.
No, dude. They were getting over. The segments were getting over. That shit was getting fucking a lot of social media activity, dude. That was getting a lot of social media activity, dude. He had the Sally Jesse Raphael glasses and everything, dude. Bro, come on, man. That shit was he made the most of it. What I'm saying is that people need to like kind of cool their expectations with this guy right now. Because we've seen this before. We've seen mid-card guys that get hot, that people are like, oh, they should push this guy. Wow, what a pop. This guy's super over. Oh, wow. And then what happens? Boom, they fucking crash. You know what I'm saying? So let's just pump the brakes. Let's see what happens. Right now, he has the best opportunity he's had since he's been in that company. Because he's going to work Roman Reigns in fucking Saudi Arabia. And that's his chance to prove, yo, I can be a main event guy. I can be an upper mid card guy that could do a main event spot. I can do that if you need me to. You know what I'm saying? This is his chance to say, okay, you're either going to fucking invest in me or you're not.
Exactly.
That's it.
Look in my eyes. What can you see?
And if Roman Reigns can't make this guy look good, and if he can't make himself look good working with Roman Reigns, which is basically like me working this fucking mic stand right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. You're not what you're all fucking cracked up to be. That's all I'm saying.
Is that the main event for Crown Jewel?
He needs to make the most of it. Yes, it's the main event of Crown Jewel, which we revealed here on Working the Marks.
What goes?
Y'all could go back and check that out.
It's Roman Reigns, man. Who's going to main event over Roman?
You're right. Chill. Yeah. I got 2 ones up.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with LA Knight. That's all I'm saying. But like, you know, I get that people are excited about it. I get you're excited about it because he was in Impact, and you know, you like that Podunk company, and he was there for a while and stuff like that.
Third best company, bro.
You know,
third best company.
He was in NWA.
A company with 1/15 the budget of the other 2 major companies on the planet.
You mean OVW and WWE?
And they're making do with 20 plus years already. I don't understand why they don't get more flowers for, again, not having.
Because they're fucking podunk, dude. That's why. Because they're.
Is it because they're Canadian, Pat? Is it because they're Canadian?
No, it has nothing to do with being Canadian. Because even before they were Canadian, they were still fucking podunk. It's just always been podunk.
Fernando, what kind of props do you want them to get? Mickey James came out at the Royal Rumble, was introduced as the Impact like knockout champion in a WWE ring.
Gente.
AJ Styles was given props for being a multiple-time world champion from Impact. Christian Cage, they acknowledged that like the number 1 company in the world has acknowledged Impact. Like, what do you feel like it's just the fans that don't give Impact credit, or like what's your gripe with that?
I think it's Paddy.
I think my grievance, and listen, I'm not one to complain about anything mostly, but my grievance, I would say, is that I think there's a certain sector of the wrestling community, the Mark community, maybe the IWC, that doesn't give Impact, again, for whether it's Scott D'Amore and the brain trust there that has been booking for years. I think that for a company that for a long time was based in Orlando, and worked within their budget, then they had to slash their budget once Anthem bought them. They've settled permanently into Nashville at the Anthem Studios. Yeah, they've gone around and they've done shows, at the ECW Arena, in Westchester. They've gone to Chicago. They've been in Toronto. I mean, again, they've been smart knowing that, again, with 1/15 of the budget that Tony Khan has and Endeavor TKO has, they've made, I think, more than due with vignettes. That's something that Tony Khan doesn't get right whatsoever.
Don't believe in it.
Storytelling, which they've been doing that for years now. They've creatively have been better. Listen, Scott D'Amore, impaired on every narcotic possible, is probably a better booker and storyteller and writer than Tony Khan is sober. And I just
he's never sober though. What are you talking about?
That's true. Bad choice of words. So I just think that Impact as a company that's been around for over 20 years, I don't think gets the respect it should from the IWC for a company that has made do with what they have, has worked within their budgets. They've been pretty much the Tampa Bay Rays of pro wrestling.
I disagree, Papa. I gotta tell you, I'm on TikTok. I'm pretty far on there.
He's heavy
Impact,
on there.
Impact gets lots of flowers. It is widely regarded that they have the #1 women's division in all of professional wrestling.
They don't get flowers from Muscle of Wrestling,
like
though.
They don't get flowers from Muscle of Wrestling. Yeah. I mean, I don't watch. I don't have a way to watch it. I'm sorry. But they get lots of flowers, man. And people still talk about the X division. They still talk about people like Christopher Daniels. They still talk about people like Elix Skipper, Samoa Joe. Kurt Angle has a podcast where he does like once every 2 weeks, he goes over his Impact stuff. I mean, I feel like they get a lot of love. I just feel like they don't get a lot of viewership because they're on a channel that not a lot of people have.
It's because they changed their name.
Listen, to Macho's point, that's right. Access TV on a whole is a good channel. There's a lot for music lovers. There's a lot of concert series on it. There's a lot of great documentaries about musicians. It's a good channel. The problem is, to your point, it's not easily accessible on traditional landline cable. Case in point, Time Warner, Cablevision, Spectrum, I believe, or Comcast. Unless you have Sling or AT&T or DirecTV or Fubo or Philo, excuse me, also, you're not going to be able to get access. And I think that, listen, they're averaging somewhere between, they're getting Rampage numbers. Because I look at the Impact numbers regularly. They're getting somewhere between like 250,000 ratings on Thursdays. And it's a good night for wrestling because 8 to 10 is Impact and then 10 to 11 is the New Japan condensed hour show. So it's a good night for wrestling if you like it and good storytelling. But you know what? I stand corrected. Mach, you raise a good point. I think that the engagement that they get online, and as you mentioned, I'm not on TikTok, so I can't speculate on that. But I'll believe you. I think that part of my disenchantment, I think, is the idea that for whatever reason, they haven't gotten lucky with advertisers. They're on a channel that's hard to find. And they can only afford to pay guys and girls a certain amount until they branch out or they get snatched up by the bigger companies. And that's what's happened.
Swoop, swoop.
And it's Podunk.
I swear to God.
Yeah, once they change their name, they turn to shit, dude.
Wait, so is it Impact or is it Impact? Because it looks like Impact on your shirt there, right? It's like Wham,
That's a great
not
band.
Wham, I just realized that it's got an exclamation point on there. So
this is the guy from Anchorman here. He's a fucking sportscaster. I swear.
Wham, whammy. Oh man. Well, I mean, I think that's the most I've ever talked about Impact or LA Knight in my entire life. And
you'll be talking more about him as he keeps getting pops and decibel levels.
Let's see. All right, Fernando's gonna go to the fucking arena and fucking measure the decibel levels. All of a sudden, he's gonna start putting out his own statistics.
Let's go to Barclays and summer first. Let's go. There's an app on the iPhone for you guys with your flip phones and your whatever Androids. I'm sure there's an app where you can
measure the decibel levels. Yeah, no, that's totally reliable using a fucking app.
Mi gente.
Damn, bro.
Damn.
Watch, I'm telling you, Pat's on a roll. He's got that Edward Norton American History X vibe.
Tell me when I'm telling lies, yo.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm young.
I mean,
I'm tired. All right. I work with children. I live with children. You know what I'm saying? It's been rough, you know?
I mean, in terms of Eli Drake alone, just reading what I read about him in Mox's book, he seems like a genuinely nice dude, but his character on television just isn't really that appealing. Like, I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. Although I do like his finisher, or I like the way people have been taking it now.
I think it's too sloppy. I don't know. You got to do too much to get into it. Now it seems a little bit easier.
It's potentially dangerous too, though. I think.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to do the stunner, but I can't do the stunner because Steve let Kevin do the stunner. So now I got to do a thing that looks like a stunner, but doesn't look like a diamond cutter, but looks like a flatliner, but looks like a front face Russian leg sweep too.
Mira, Patruco, let that be the last time that you ever in your fucking mustache face ever mentioned Kevin Owens and LA Knight in the same sentence again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's a disrespect.
KO
Kevin
in
Knight.
LA,
You're right about that.
WrestleMania.
You're right about that. You're right.
Kevin Owens is like
I saw your bandana getting tighter when that happened. That was
I was thinking, I was like, mira, you leave Kevin Owens alone.
Mi gente.
Yeah, mi gente.
Guys, as we wrap up the news here, interesting. Jade Cargill filing a trademark for the WWE ring name, and you look at someone where at some point when her in-ring debut will be, it's anyone's guess or speculation. They've been featuring on TV regularly. I mean, listen, as a straight male, I'm not complaining looking at Jade Cargill. I would certainly not mind having my wages garnished on a bi-weekly basis by procreating with her. Having said that, there's a gold mine with her potentially. She's 31. She got into WWE a little bit later than a lot of other girls that, right? They bring into NXT or that they sign or whatever. I think there's so many boxes to check off with Jade Cargill. And yes, you know what? They're being smart. They're teasing those potential feuds down the line with Becky and with Charlotte. Listen, I think that there's still some work to do with her. Oh my God, what a wicked web we weave with the Ewok. Wow. You probably weren't expecting that, right, Pat? Oh, okay, you weren't expecting that. I
think I'm gonna put you over tonight, Uribe, because man, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. Yeah, I'm gonna give you
Macho
props finally.
TNA.
I'm gonna put you over today finally.
Unbelievable. I think listen, you guys are the workers, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here.
Thank you.
I think there's still some stuff that can be fine-tuned with Jade Cargill from what we saw in AEW. And I think her time at the PC, working with A-Train, working with Shawn Michaels, William Regal, the plethora of knowledge in that building is going to help her. I think that she's going to be a main eventer, but this idea that she's going to be main eventing or at the top of the card in Philadelphia in April, I think that's a little ambitious.
No, she's got to go through Bailey.
No, that's not ambitious at all. And honestly, when you're in a company where, you're being trained by possibly the greatest to ever do it in Bryan Danielson,
Shawn Michaels,
and you're working with people like CM Punk and you're learning from Kenny Omega and those type of people, you can have all the talent in the world. But when you're working someone who doesn't even know how to properly call a spot in the ring without the whole entire front row hearing it, like a Britt Baker, like a Taya Valkyrie, when you're working like these people that are just like really like mediocre in the ring, it's going to make you look bad too. Her best match was against Chris Statlander, her goodbye match. Like, she works WWE style. She's going to work the proper way. She's already like set up for that style. She's going to work it right. They're going to teach her about pacing. They're probably going to have her watch Bad Bunny film because he knows more about pacing than half the wrestlers today.
Well, they got her half naked like everybody else.
She's just no, man. That's just how she looks. Like, she's just,
she wasn't half naked in AEW.
Yeah, she was. She did the same. She has the Charlotte gear, like just the top and
Jade.
Yeah.
Bro. What about the She-Hulk outfit, man? You know what I'm saying?
I don't watch AEW, bro. I'm not a mark.
The fuck? The fuck? What are you talking about?
This is amazing, D. This
This coming from the guy who keeps putting in the chat that Christian's the best wrestler.
He's
ever.
got it,
Fuck
right?
outta
Get it
here.
straight. He's got it, right? Leave Christian alone. He's the best wrestler of all time. Next to Lex
Fuck out of
Luger.
here. He looks like an uncircumcised penis with that fucking turtleneck. Get out of here.
Hey, listen, he's a wannabe Bond villain. Let's be
You're
honest.
lucky
And he's
you're in
wrestling.
PA, Macho. You're lucky you're in PA, bro.
Such big words from such a little window, D. You know, like your little window you're coming from.
Give him credit though. He's trying to be that Bond villain wrestling with a cut-off turtleneck. I mean, that speaks volumes about trying to be a little original, I think.
No, it's
fantastic.
cool.
Yeah.
He's doing great. I'm just saying, like, I just making fun of D here for being such a big Christian mark.
He's the
But
greatest.
no, I get it. He's your guy. That's fine. That for me and Pat.
Oh,
it's
I'm not
Brian.
gay. He's just the greatest. He's not my guy. He's the greatest. That's it.
There's anything wrong with that, but
Hey, we're all happy here, but he's the greatest.
No, it's all right. You want to be like that guy in the front row of like NSYNC concerts when they take off their shirts and throw them. You want him to throw his turtleneck at you. I get it.
Damn
You're
straight.
excited. You're like, let me get that shit.
And that TNT title too.
D's a peep. He's an original
I'm
peep.
not, yo, straight up, bro. I'm a peep, bro. Not a peep in time, a peep.
What the fuck?
Uribe, I'm sorry. Where were you? You were in the middle of something, weren't you?
I was just trying to
Jade Cargill. We were talking about Jade
Yes.
Cargill and the skimpy outfits or something like that. That's how we got
her
signed.
outfit, yeah, her outfits. She's got a great body. She's
got a great body.
Now, will she be able to do that in Crown Jewel?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody will be able to.
Well, that's a backward society back there. They're not going to let her walk out half naked over there. But that's neither here or there. You're never going to see those nice outfits in that part of the world. So I mean, backwards over there.
Yeah, it's a different culture, man. It's a different fucking culture.
Backwards. Just call it what it is.
That's what you want to call it. That's what you want to call it. I want to call it
backwards.
a different
It's
culture.
not forward or progressive.
It's like
It's their culture. I don't
it's
live
like
there. I
having
live
an
here.
empanada instead of a pastel on Christmas.
They
bro.
can be how they want to be. That's them. You know what I'm saying? But maybe you should save that for your Monday show or whenever it is you do. your show.
I got plenty. Don't worry.
I get the reference you were making, pendejo, but it's empanadilla. We say empanadilla. All right.
Oh shit!
Oh my god.
Yeah, empanada is something that somebody like south of the border calls it, but no, it's empanadilla. That's what we
That's
call
what
it.
they call it. They called it over here in Jersey City, empanadas.
But guys, is Jade Cargill ahead of schedule, you think, or do you think that eventually at some? I mean, again, I think that
Yeah.
Royal Rumble.
Headline Mania in some capacity. I think it's a little ambitious. She has some work to do. Yes, she's ahead of the curve, sure, but is she ready to be in a feud with any of the four women? No, I think she's still far from that.
Oh, that would be. I think Dee said it. The perfect person would be Bailey.
Yep.
Like, put her out there with someone who genuinely knows how to work and get a crowd, into you. Like, yeah, absolutely, I'll pop for that. But yeah, I mean, like, if she works somebody like Bailey, Bailey's not one of the most popular superstars right now, but she might be the MVP of the women's division. She's doing everything from behind the scenes.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
but we have to. You do know that they're gonna make up for last year. Rhea is gonna close night one. She's gonna close night one with Becky Lynch. That's what's gonna happen.
Not a punkster.
So I know that you keep saying that you feel like she's gonna get that main event spot, but she's not going to. There's no way, because she's gonna get. She's probably gonna work Bianca or Charlotte or Bailey, or she might even work somebody like a returning Alexa Bliss.
Ooh.
But who's super underrated, by the way. But yeah, Roman's gonna close night two. So unless we're adding a third night for that,
Wait, you don't think Seth Rollins is close night one?
No.
You're out of your mind, dude.
Okay.
You better stop smoking that Must Love Wrestling juice.
No, I just think Rhea Ripley is as big a character in professional wrestling today as we have seen regularly.
She's losing in Royal Rumble, bro. Trust me.
No, she's not. She's going to go all the way to Mania, and she's going to retain against Becky Lynch.
Oh, dude, no. The crowd can't handle that.
Or maybe the trilogy with Charlotte. Maybe you
the story.
Maybe you do that and get the trilogy out of the way with Charlotte. I mean, at some point, Charlotte has to win a title. I mean,
it's going to be Charlotte and Bianca, man. I think it's
trilogy.
Charlotte and
They've
Bianca.
had 4 matches together already. They've worked 3 pay-per-views,
the
2
WrestleMania,
WrestleManias, and they've worked an NXT pay-per-view together.
He was implying a WrestleMania trilogy. That's what.
WrestleMania trilogies. Okay, so do like a Rock and Austin.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying, like a Brock and Roman.
I would argue that possibly you want, maybe that's a good direction to go. I just find it hard to believe that once they started already looking at what's the best heat going into night one, that's the match that, again, case in point, Austin and Owens. I mean, the investment there was emotionally going into that Mania in Dallas and everything that went into that. I think that there were matches that probably should have gone on before them. Like, let's be fair. You can make the case that it could have been Cody and Rollins headlining night one, but that's not the case.
Way. Stone Cold Steve Austin came back, bro.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That
Sound like a mark, dude. You sound like a mark.
You're goddamn right. I'm a mark for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
There was an emotional investment there with Owens and Austin.
Yeah.
There was an emotional investment last year with the Usos against Sami Zayn. I think that, listen, a lot can happen between now and next month in Chicago. What's going to happen in Chicago, we'll see. And whether someone comes back or not.
Look in my eyes.
But if the potential's there for Punk to win the Rumble potentially and headline against Rollins, I'm sorry. I seriously,
bro, give him the one thing he wanted, bro. He wanted to headline WrestleMania. Boom, get the first night.
But it's so tough because it's like, Fernando brings up a good point. Like, you got to see where the heat's at, man. You got to see where the heat. I mean, look, I have no problem with Becky and Rhea closing out night one. I think that's awesome. But is the heat gonna be there? Is everything that they're gonna do, the character work that they're gonna do, and they're both capable of it. They're both capable of it. They both can do it, especially Becky. But like, can they both do it? Can they get more heat? Can they get more interest than, let's say, Punk against Rollins? You know what I'm saying? Punk against Rollins, that's another thing, man.
They've been having heat on Twitter. I mean, X.
Bro, Punk coming back alone is it's gonna take so much focus away.
Dude, actually, shit his pants.
That might be the worst thing for LA Knight, to be quite honest.
And watch also too, just to point this out again, the business model is there with Endeavor and TKO. How do you maximize the most about gate and buys and interest and everything else, social media engagement? Not to say that Rhea headlining wouldn't get engagement, whether it's Rhea against Becky or Rhea versus Charlotte in a potential trilogy. I just think that if Punk returns next month, and if, again, the tea leaves are saying that, well, he could be headlining the Rumble and win it and then challenge Rollins. There's a backstory there, going back to NXT, going back to the Shield. There's a lot of backstory there that you can capitalize, and that could have some heat. I think to Pat's point, you have to look at potentially what's the best heat going into night one. And I just don't see Becky and Rhea overshadowing potentially what could be either Cody versus Cena. Again, if it's not Cody and Roman night two, or Punk and Rollins.
We love you, Punk.
Yeah, I mean, when I made that statement about Becky versus Rhea, I was not assuming that Punk would be back.
Okay.
Like that's kind of like, if Punk comes back, yeah, absolutely. But I think me and Pat talked about this. Like, I don't think he comes back to the company until he gets a guarantee in his contract he main events WrestleMania. Like, that's what he wants to finish his career. That's what's missing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Cody finishing the story. Although Cody already fucking finished the story.
Whoa, buddy, he ain't finished no story, dude.
Did he win an undisputed championship?
Bro, he's getting a title Dusty never had.
Did Dusty have the tag team titles?
Bro, you got lip, bro. You got lip, Macho.
I'm just saying. Baby, just tell me, Daddy. Did Dusty Rhodes was he ever the undisputed tag team champion? Was he ever?
No.
Okay, well, then he finished the story.
Yeah, but you know what, Mach? If the premise is that, okay, we're kind of following the Dusty Ric Flair feud where he lost in 84. I'm sorry, where he lost in 85.
He lost twice.
That's right. He lost to Flair, and then a whole year of overcoming the Horsemen and adversity, and then he finally beats Flair, I think 86. No, was it 84, 85? No, 84 into 85, and he finally beats Flair a year later. If that's where they're going, I don't have an objection. But if the potential for Dwayne to go in there, and yes, it'll be limited. It'll be a 6-7 minute match at the most.
Oh God!
If that's there for Dwayne to put over his cousin, which again,
for what?
Depending who you hear from, that's something that's high on his bucket list. I'm gonna tell you something. Roman and Rocky, night 2, Rollins, Punk returns. I think those are two good main events for WrestleMania 40. I could be wrong. I think a lot of things have to fall into place in the next 5 to 6 months that maybe we don't know about.
Bro, how much higher can Roman get?
Am I Matt Damon on fucking Mars right now? Am I the only person that thinks that The Rock is a good wrestler? What is this?
You're
6,
out
7
of your
minute
mind,
shit?
dude. Stay in Hollywood, bro.
I think he's a good wrestler.
He ruined
I
DC.
think he knows how to work. I think he
6,
knows how to
7
work.
minutes. I'm sorry, Fernando. That's blasphemous, my guy.
Well, I agree. I think it's insulting to a guy that's more jacked than all of us, and than all of us have ever fucking been. He's in better shape than all of us.
I'm only going by the premise of
Why did you say Robert De Niro when you did that?
No. Listen, I'm not
you know what I
trying to
mean?
be
Hey, could be right.
I'm just saying that, like, the notion that we're going. Listen, again, 10 years ago, it was a different circumstance. He was gassed up to his blood vessel, his brain vessels. He was doing Fast and Furious. He got hurt in the match against Cena. I'm sure he'll want to be more careful. I think there's still an element of him that wants to keep doing films. But this idea that him and Roman are going to put on like a 30, 35-minute masterpiece,
Bro,
I don't think he's
22 minutes, 22,
what's the
25
end-
minutes.
What is the end game? What does Roman get out of this? He's already on the top of his game. He's at the peak of the mountain.
Beat The Rock.
To put over Roman.
Wrestling his cousin, bro. He's wrestling his family at WrestleMania. That's
Passing
fucking
the
cool.
torch. This is
What
WrestleMania.
torch? He's done after this, bro. There's no torch to pass. He's got to pass the torch.
Yes, Rock would
Roman's
pass
got
the
no.
torch
Roman's
to
got to
Roman.
pass the torch because Roman has the torch now.
I think
No,
he
he
just wants to
doesn't.
wrestle his
He's
cousin.
never. Nobody's ever given him the torch.
Not bloodline wise.
it.
Again,
He took it.
The biggest name in the family is still Dwayne Johnson, per
Yeah.
se. Dwayne putting him over and saying, "Hey, I'm the last member of the family you haven't beaten.
Mhm.
I acknowledge you," and that's how you close out Sunday night.
Can't
and
beat Rikishi. Where's Rikishi?
Well, all right. Well,
No,
okay.
I'm being a technical asshole right now. I'm sorry, I'm being a technical asshole right now.
No, that's all right. I mean, Roman's smacked the shit out of both his kids already. How many times? I don't think he wants to come out there.
Yeah, I just think, again, back to Macho's point that there's the potential for Becky and Rhea or Becky Charlotte or Becky. To this point, I'm not sure if Alexa Bliss already gave birth already. How long will it take to get back into shape, and back into ring readiness? I don't know. But there's a lot of possibilities for Rhea Ripley. And by the way, can we put some respect on Io Sky? She could also headline too. I mean, it's
Dude,
not
she
like
sucks, bro. She sucks. She sucks, bro.
David, you are out of your mind. David,
She sucks. Bailey is holding her up like a fucking roller coaster.
Bailey's doing a great job there, but Io is fantastic, dude.
Bro,
Io is
she
fantastic,
sucks.
bro.
Nah, bro. You need to go back and watch Lucha Underground.
David,
EO's this great for
I
a while.
understand. I understand they legalized cannabis 2 years ago via referendum in New Jersey, but
They
whatever,
did?
but whatever's being laced in is completely, I think, discombobulating.
Bro, she's like a friggin' like a fake Oscar.
She's not a fake
They're
Oscar,
completely
bro.
different workers.
Nah.
completely different gimmicks.
Different
First of all,
styles altogether,
first of
too.
all,
Everything.
First of all, she can sit on any of our faces gladly, and I don't think anyone.
Yeah, I ain't saying
Wow.
nothing about that, bro.
So-
but I'm just saying she's a placeholder.
Since
She's
you
only a
said about
placeholder.
since you always put me and Pat over as like workers, I just want to make this clear. Rock can pull out a 25-minute match because his style dictates that he can.
Yeah.
I think you're expecting him to go out there and work like the Rockers Light or something like that. Like he's not gonna do that. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna
You mean
work
the Young
his
Bucks?
style. If you go back and watch, like his matches with Cena were not that bad. Even with the injury, the match was still pretty solid.
28 was good. 28
Bro,
was good. I like
bro,
that.
bro, that shit in the middle and suck balls.
No, that
Sucks.
wasn't that bad. That
Oh
really
my
wasn't that bad.
What is
That really
going
was
on
not
right
that
now?
bad.
Punk should have headlined that motherfucker.
I do agree with that.
All right,
but,
that's
but
yeah, okay.
but then Punk should have kept the title and Taker should have challenged. It should have
Exactly.
been
The
three
Rock
title.
should
That
have
would
never
been better.
The Rock
But-
should have never taken the title.
But even if so what? Okay, he did because they were trying to sell a bigger fucking card and it worked out and they made money. And I know Uribe is gonna say, oh well, he didn't go anywhere with the title and all this other stuff, but it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, he's a big name. He
He
had the
went
title. Who
He went
gives
to
a
2 movie premieres without the title. Like,
Yo,
how are
yo,
you?
the
how are you
check
the
got
world champion?
cashed. The check got cashed. That's it. It's over. It's done.
Okay,
They
but-
made the money. That's the objective,
All
right?
All right, here we go. Mach, you live out there in PA, Philly, and all that shit. How does the crowd feel about having a woman main event? Are they gonna like that or no? Because Philly's crazy. I'm just saying, Philly's crazy.
Yeah, they're fine, but
They won't be sober by the time the PLE starts, so I think it'll be irrelevant. But that's
Fernando, how are you such a Rock hater when it looks like you look like him? Like I don't understand. How are you a hater?
no. Mach, let me be fair. I've always been a
Rocking
big
his 1998 haircut.
No. Well, I barely have any hair. I don't have the luxury you and PBR does. Edward Norton over there.
No, but I'm saying like you're rocking his sunglasses. Like I thought that was like your thing. Like I'm the Rock.
But this is the thing. I've always been a bigger Austin fan. That was always like the tribalism during the Attitude Era.
I was not.
I was always an Austin guy. Having said that, I just think that at his age now, I don't know what he's willing to put his body through, and such a rugged, thorough, laborious effort. I don't know if that's something that he's receptive to. I'm not saying he's a good worker. I'm not saying he's bad.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I feel like you're overlooking the style though. Like his style is going to dictate that. He's a slower, like monotone worker. He's going to work more of a brawler style. He's not going to really put his body through a lot of like shit like that. Roman's not really like a power guy. Like John Cena lifts you. He slams you. He does stuff like that. Roman doesn't really do that shit. Roman beats you down on the ground. He's going to hold you. He's going to play to the audience. He's going to put you in a headlock and remind everybody that his arm is too big. Like it's all about storytelling. The both of them will go out there and they'll put on this magnificent story that by the end of the match you'll think to yourself, "Holy shit! I didn't know The Rock still had that in him."
Do you
not
really
even
want to
realizing?
Do you really want to see that? Out of all the wrestlers in the world, you want to see The Rock versus Roman?
Yes,
at a Mania.
For the reasons that Fernando outlined and what he just said. I mean, look, dude, if Sting could go out there and fucking wrestle, why can't The Rock? The Rock looks fucking
better than him.
I'm
saying a WrestleMania main event. Come on, you got so many other wrestlers that deserve that.
The Rock has never been better than Sting.
Cody.
Yo, what? What? He's a better promo than Sting.
Yep,
better
that's
everything than Sting. Sting is B+ at best. At
The
best.
fuck
The Rock,
outta here.
The Rock, A+.
Gente.
Top level. All right, selling out stadiums. All right, not jumping off of balconies at like 1,000 years old. Because pretending to be New Jack with makeup. Come on, The Rock would never.
Guy.
No, much to your point. I think that the reason. And let me be clear. I don't want to sound cynical about his in-ring work at his age now. I just think that. I just suspect maybe that it might have to be a gimmick match. Again, a 25, 30-minute slow down pace match to what you're depicting. I think it's realistic, but I think at the same time, he's over 50, dude. He hasn't worked in a long time. The last time he worked was Eric Rowan in a rock bottom in Dallas in 2016. And ever since
guys that big aren't good.
Did he look like shit on SmackDown? When he hit that spine buster and that fucking people's elbow.
About 5
bro,
minutes.
Look at how invested the crowd was. But bro, how long was that segment? You know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
But there's so many things, like a peek behind the curtain. There's so many things Rocky does in the ring to protect himself. The way he takes back bumps and he holds his head. There's certain things that Rocky does to protect himself. He even says the only thing that hurt him in that John Cena match was his leg, was the fact that he tore his quad or his hamstring or whatever it was. I'm not saying it's going to be a 25 to 30 minute match. I'm just saying I believe he can do that. And I think that you're overlooking like the style in which they work, because one of the reasons people hate Roman right now is because they feel like he's not a good worker. They're just not seeing that. He works very similar to Scott Hall. Scott Hall was a smart professional wrestler. That's what Roman is.
One of the best workers ever in the history of the business.
Absolutely. So it's kind of one of those things where you look at Roman, and right now I think you kind of have to trust Roman. And I think the objective is Rocky will do whatever it takes to help his cousin get over to be the greatest of all time.
He beats The Rock. What happens after that? Is it for the title or not the title?
He can still go and feud with Cody.
Title.
What do you mean?
It's got to be for the title. It's got to be.
Wait one more year for the story to end?
No, but you could fucking end the story of fucking SummerSlam, dude.
Yeah,
you could one different places.
Dusty Rhodes didn't win the title at Starrcade.
Okay. Let me put it to you like this, D. If you were a promoter and you had the chance to book The Rock for a fucking appearance, but he could only do it for this time, are you gonna miss out on The Rock?
I don't like him.
No, you're not. It makes no fucking sense. It makes no business sense. It makes no bet. All right, whether you're a fan or not, he's going to put asses in the seats, right? You're trying to fill a venue. There you go. There you go.
I'm just harking back to I just the style of match. I believe, like, dude, wrestling's a circus. Every single match needs to be different for it to be entertaining. If we're all going to watch the same exact match, then just watch that shit on replay at home. But when I watch WrestleMania, I want to see all different matches. I want to see a ladder match. I want to see a submission match. I want to see a women's match. I want to see a high flyer. I want to see a technical match.
And
I want to see a brawler.
And guys, mind you, also, here's another factor I think too, that it's not going to take a lot to sell out both nights. Again, the Link is relatively one of the smaller ballparks in North America. We're talking about like mid to late 60,000s. We're not talking about, SoFi.
That's when it's football, but they're going to be on the floor. They're going to be on the field.
Yeah, but that's still not going to. Okay, so theoretically, it might crack
Like
70?
Super Bowl 3?
It might crack.
They're only going to fit 10,000 on the Eagles Stadium floor on 100. I think they're going to fit more than that.
I mean, the stadium's like 66 and change. So, okay, if you're saying, but remember, right? Isn't there a certain part of the stadium that because of the stage? Remember, they keep making these stages like obscenely large and dramatic, right?
Yeah.
So, isn't a certain portion of the ballpark already kind of blocked off where you're losing that? So
it's not. Do you think they're performing at Citizens Bank Park?
No. I go to the Link every year for the Cowboy Eagle game.
Yeah.
I know that building specifically. It's not large. It's not like MetLife. It's not 83 and change. Where here in 2019, I think. I mean, I don't know what the attendance. D, look up that. D's our stat guy here, obviously, folks. But D, look up that number real quick if you can. But I think it was like 80 something and change, and that's even still with the floor, the enormous big plasma screen. I don't know what they're going to do in Philly. I'm sure it'll be like a Liberty theme with the Liberty Bell, Constitutional Hall, the pillars, Thomas Jefferson, the founders. Who knows? They'll do something like that. I still don't think it's going to take a lot to sell out that building. We're talking about at most 70,000 people. They'll find a way to sell it out, whether it's Cody versus Roman, Rock versus Roman, Rollins versus Punk, Rollins versus Knight.
69,879 capacity.
Okay, well, I mean, that's not a big ballpark. It really isn't.
What was it? 69,000?
69,879.
Not a big ballpark. So you're losing extra. Yeah, you're getting 10,000 seats on the floor, but what are you? It's still,
dude.
70,000 people.
Record. They're gonna break the AEW record. They're gonna do it on purpose this year in Philly. Watch.
Yeah.
They're gonna break the AEW record for.
They're gonna break the AEW record both nights.
Yeah. Well, that's obvious, but for both nights, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought you meant both nights combined.
Like Saturday night will break Wembley, and then Sunday night will break Wembley again.
How fucking funny would that be? Paul does that shit, breaks it up, and then
he puts the banner. Right with attendance. The highest grossing gate in the history of the planet. Because remember that was Tony Khan's quote about All In. It was like, oh, it's the most wrestling tickets ever sold for a wrestling ever in the history of the planet. I'm like, okay.
Well, when you buy 10,000 of them your fucking self, that's why.
10,000. It's more like 20,000.
Motherfucker snorted an 8-ball and then decided, oh, I'm gonna go on Ticketmaster. Like,
yeah. I think they could get 80. I think they could or 75 at least. I think they could figure out a way to do 75 ringside and everything and still do it like to be compliant to code. I think they could figure it out. Absolutely.
Fernando, to your point, you're right. Anything's going to sell both nights just because of Roman Reigns alone. But if you add Rocky's name to it, it's like people are going to clamor for that ticket.
He should come back as Rocky Maivia, like the way he did, like the way he debuted. He should just
grow the hair out and wear the oh my god, the
fucking look great, blue chipper right there, blue chipper.
Yeah.
So guys, as we're about to call it a night here, let's take you back in time here on this day in pro wrestling history. On the 17th of October, the Masked Superstar in 1983, aka Axe from Demolition, Bill Eadie, defeated Bob Backlund by countout at a house show in Madison Square Garden, one of the few losses that Bob Backlund would ever take, whether by pinfall, countout, or submission, during his long title reign. Also on this date in 1994, Monday Night Raw was live from Burlington, Vermont, as it was the go-home show for the upcoming Survivor Series, where Yokozuna and obviously would be facing The Undertaker in the upcoming casket match. We also saw Razor Ramon defend the Intercontinental title against the late, great Yokozuna. A really, really good go-home show. In 1999, WWE presented its second No Mercy pay-per-view of the calendar year, with the previous one being an exclusive UK-only pay-per-view event. And in the main event, Triple H successfully defended the title against Stone Cold Steve Austin in a very highly underrated Anything Goes match. Also, on this day in 2000, Kurt Angle defeated Chris Benoit, The Rock, and Triple H in a fatal four-way on his way to get a WWE title opportunity where he would defeat The Rock ultimately later on that month. Folks, also in 2015, Pete Dunne retained the OTT No Limits Championship against Mark Andrews in the main event of the OTT fucking PG #2 in Dublin, Ireland. And on this day in 2016, Goldberg returned to the WWE for the first time in 12 years on a Monday Night Raw in Denver, Colorado. All of this good stuff on
China.
October in wrestling history.
China also won the IC title 24 years ago today.
That is right. Yes, that's right.
And Jimmy Superfly Snuka flied off the top of the cage 40 years ago today.
Wow. Oh, I did not see that. Okay. Very nicely done, Macho. Guys, let's wrap it up here. PBR.
Damn.
Oh, I like Emeril Lagasse. What did you say there, Frank?
PBR. Let's close this out here. Let's bat and lead off here as we close.
I think you said. Let's wrap it up, and that's something that perhaps me and Mach should have done a long time ago before we had some kids. But I will say it was nice to have you back, Fernando. It's nice to see you again. Hopefully, you can fit us into your busy schedule to come back and join us here on Working the Marks. We worked a little overtime. We gave you 2 episodes for the price of 1 here tonight. And Exotica, what is it? The porn convention, bro. Shout us out, D. Do something with the clips here.
XX.
Show the back, D. Show the back, D. One time. There's the back.
Tag them on Instagram. Like, yo, we shouted you out here. What's up?
Yeah, we shouted you out. But
Macho wants free tickets.
Great to have you back, Fern. And Mach, whatever. You know what you are. So, see you around. Nice pride shirt, Fernando. You got in the background there.
Always. Mach, what you got for us as we close this out here tonight?
Oh, man, I think it was a great episode, great discourse. We were able to go back and forth. We had some disagreements, but it was all in good fun. I really wish the stuff behind the scenes would have made it on here about LA Knight, but, maybe we'll save that for next week. I just really enjoy being on the show. It's lots of fun to be on here with you guys. The 3 is.
It's a great show here, despite Dee's overconsumption of cannabis clearly tonight. With some of the commentary. We love you, Dee, our illustrious executive producer. Folks, don't forget to always check us out on all of our social media platforms. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Click the subscribe button. Folks, it takes 2 seconds.
And Rumble now. Rumble too. Rumble.
And Rumble as well. Also on Twitch. Folks, sharing is caring. Let everyone make them aware about how much you love Working the Marks. Because if we're talking pro wrestling, it's always here on Working the Marks via Famcast Media. Guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Fernando Uribe. He is Macho Rodriguez. We also have Paddy Rican with 3 R's because that's how Puerto Ricans talk,
Rican, baby. Curl that R. Rican.
Folks, It's a triple threat of wrestling podcasts here on Famcast Media. Always remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. We'll see you next week on Famcast Media.
Famcast Media.